Hey Gemini, welcome to Yellow Card No Tarot with me. My name is Carole, and this is going to be a general reading for you for February 2026. And I have a really good reading for you today, Gemini. So if you're just coming to my channel, you're new, I want to welcome you and encourage you to subscribe if you've liked the video, if it resonated with you. And if you're coming back for another reading, I want to thank you. So in today's reading, we're going to be doing a reading called Coming Back to Your Truth. And the word authenticity came to me when I sat down to try to figure out what I was going to do this month. And so I said to myself, well, is there a card in the tarot deck that for me represents authenticity? And right away it came out as the Ace of Swords, and you'll see it on my thumbnail when you clicked on. So the Ace of Swords by itself, or the sword by itself, when it can be with one of the court cards, it automatically to me represents authenticity and truth and getting back to who you really are. And so often I'll say that this is the sword that's offered by the universe as a gift for you, as an offer to take up and to start to cut through the bullshit in your life. And maybe it's the bullshit that you've been carrying around for all these years, right? So I want you to start seeing things exactly the way that they are and not how maybe you hope or wish that they were supposed to be. And so there's going to be a need for you to get a little bit uncomfortable with maybe some emotions that are coming up here. Because in order to get to our truth and peel away at these layers of trauma or deceit or lies that people told us growing up, we have to shed some tears. And so sometimes, there's some grief comes up, and then, you have fear in there that will come up, and sometimes some shame. And so there's some real uncomfortable emotions that might come up for you. And so this is going to be a reading where it's going to help you get to this next step that you've been wanting to get to in your life. And whether it's a big creative step or whether it's a small step of putting yourself first, there can be a real big range here. It's going to be a time when you're going to be asked to start to live and speak from what's really real for you and not what you were taught to be. And so we're going to have that Ace of Swords as that sword that's going to help us here to cut through the bullshit of what's been going on. And right before the reading, I selected 2 oracle cards for you. And one was from Shaman's Dream Oracle, and the other one is from the Return of the Spirit. I love putting these 2 oracle decks together because they just have a way of complementing each other. Sometimes they'll come out with the exact same idea, and it's like, well, oh, this is it. And other times, and this is your example today, where I'm going to give you one oracle card and what it says, and then it's telling you something else. It's almost like this is what's going to happen, but you need to do this. Like it was fascinating how the 2 cards came out, and you'll see what I mean when I start talking about them. And so I'm going to try to, in my future readings, and as well with this reading, is to include a little bit of shamanism and things, because as some of you may know, I'm a shamanic practitioner. And so I offer distance healings, and actually there's a link below in my description box if you're interested in just a 15-minute free consultation with me. And I've had people that have taken advantage of it. Only, if you just want to talk to me about shamanism, if you just want to talk about shamanic healing and what it is and what it can do for you. And there's no pressure whatsoever when we're done with the Zoom call. You do not have to get in contact with me again if you don't want to. It's because I want this to be something that you want for yourself. And so, I won't email you and hound you and bother you. It's something that I want you to know, that there is really some real healing and power that can be returned to you with the shamanic healing. And I also do personal tarot readings as well. And so there's a link as well in the description box, and that'll take you to my carolecares.com website, where I have all of this on my website. So let's get into your reading and these two amazing cards that I pulled out for you. So the first one is, and this is the first time I've seen this guy come out, and he's called the Horn Cactus. Take a look at him really closely here. I just want to get a good image. I don't want to go too close, but underneath it says resourcefulness. So the one thing you notice about this card is that there's a lot of green in it, and yet it's a cactus. So we know that, you know, in the realm of the desert, there's not a lot of green happening. So it's almost like you have this cactus and there's this promise of this green pasture behind it. And this next card is sort of going to talk to you about what is coming up for you, right? And it's actually called surfacing. So it's interesting. So the cactus itself here, and has a beautiful picture of the cactus where, I don't know if you can see the thorns on it, right? So cactus is an amazing plant in that it grows thorns so it can protect itself from any sort of predators or elements that are out there. And you know, you don't see water when you're in the desert. It's not something that, you know, but this cactus is very resourceful in that it's taken its roots and it's gone deep below the surface of the earth where it has you know, as much water as it wants. And so that's what keeps it alive. So it's very resourceful. And, you know, I'm wondering if this is you right now. This card's coming up because cactus reminds us of like being really dried up and just kind of not knowing where we want to go and kind of stuck in our life. And sometimes we've run out of ideas. But as I said, there's a green pasture there. This green is kind of saying there's something in the background here. So what's really being asked in this card is that before you take this next step, and there is a real need on your part to realize and recognize that you have this inner strength here, because there's something coming up in your reading. I'm sure that you're going to be asked to take this next step. And so you are about to face a challenge here that's coming up for you in your life. And this is going to be this surfacing card. And that's why you're being asked right now to really tap into your inner strength, right? The cactus has this inner strength of water, this water flow that we don't see. We don't see your inner strength at all, but it's there and you don't see it. And maybe you think you don't have it. The surfacing card comes up when you are about to face the challenge of stepping out and stepping out, up and out into the world. And so it's going to be where you are going to make yourself visible. Now, whenever we want to put ourselves out there, and it could be the smallest little thing ever. It could be you want to decide to publish a book, which is a huge thing in itself. But it could be something small where you're doing something for yourself and you've never done it before. And it's like, I'm putting myself first. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go take some kind of a course. I'm going to go learn how to do pole dancing. I'm going to do something that, you know, I've never done before that I've always wanted to do. Or it could be a big step. Maybe you are having a website created for yourself. Maybe you've created a website for yourself. Maybe you're going to have a YouTube channel. Something where people are going to see you. You know, whether it's 2 people or, 1,000 people, it can be incredibly scary, petrifying experience because you're making yourself visible. And so here's this card of saying you have this inner strength and you're going to have to tap into it in order to do this next step you want to do that's going to make yourself visible. So we're going to look at this reading right now, and we're going to have this in mind right now because I'm going to probably be referring back to it. So what we're going to do in the reading right now is I'm going to be using the Curious Travels Tarot deck and clarify it with the AE White deck. And we're going to look at, first of all, what illusions or false beliefs are you holding on to that need to be released right now? And this is going to be in relation to getting your strength back. Because when we want to do anything creative for ourselves. And like I said, it's on a continuum. It could be something big, it could be something small. But when we put ourselves out there, when we make ourselves visible, there's always healing that needs to be done. So right now we're going to look at these illusions or false beliefs that you have about yourself. And it's going to be in relation to putting yourself out there. And then we're going to look at what needs healing in order to let them go. So there's going to be some shadow work here. We're going to dig deep into your childhood and your adolescence to find out, where did these false beliefs come from? First, where did you first get them? Where did you get these illusions about yourself? Because that's what's going to need healing. And once you heal that, and a lot of times it'll involve emotions, like I said, that's where you're going to get the strength. That's where you're going to get your inner strength and that clarity to know what to do next, especially if you're sitting in a real stuck situation. And then finally, the third part is what's the tarot suggest for you to start to reconnect to your true self, to your inner strength, to your authenticity, right? And so let's start off with what illusions or false beliefs is Gemini holding right now that they need to release. One card for that. Love the squeakiness of this deck. It's just beautiful how it shuffles, but it needs one. There we go. So it needs a card to come out. So you have the 10 of Swords in reverse as well as the 7 of Cups. First two cards for you. What needs to be released? What needs to be released, and then what needs healing? What's sitting in your shadow here? You had the 9 of Cups in reverse, and those are. I was mixed up. Yes, they are cups. I always look at them and go, they look like they're swords, actually. And I think one time I did get it wrong on this card, and I read it the wrong way, and I was like, but it was too late. But so yeah, those are the cups, the 9 of Cups, and you can see how that if you're familiar with the Rider Waite deck, we have this woman sitting behind them right here. Yeah, was that? No, that's the way it is. Okay, it's upright, I think. And what does the tarot suggest for reconnecting to yourself, your true self? This is advice from the tarot in this section right here. One card for that. And interesting, this deck doesn't spit out two, but it did this time for the first one as well. So you have the Chariot card and the Death card wanting to come out. Two powerful energies for you. Major Arcana cards that wanted to come out for you. Okay, now let's begin. Let me talk about these two cards right now before I clarify. So what illusions or false beliefs are you holding on to that need to be released? Well, you start off with the 10 of Swords and then the 7 of Cups. Okay, so the 10 of Swords. So we talked about the sword as being your truth, right? That's the single sword. But when you have a bunch of these swords, like 10 is the end of, it's actually, I'm going to put it over here for me. 10 is the end of the pip suits, the suit of swords. And if you look at this individual right here, all these swords in their back, right? They're just like they are totally given up. And so I did talk to you that you are in a situation right now that this horned cactus kind of said maybe you're feeling like you're dried up, you're stuck, you have no more ideas, you've given up. And maybe that's where you're sitting. And I think the reason why you've given up is because the sword is about our mental thoughts, our mental energy, the things that we tell ourselves, the things that we repeat over and over in our head. And so there's a lot of mind activity going on with you right now where you've really done yourself in with the mind spinning around whatever it is you want to do next, whatever it is you want to do for yourself. And because this is about the false beliefs that you've been telling yourself over and over, it's like, this is what you've done to yourself by spinning over and over and over again. But these false beliefs aren't things that you've created, even though you're saying it to yourself. These are the things that people told you growing up. Listen to them carefully. Try to become that observer and listen to what kind of things you say about yourself. Like, can't do that. You're too stupid. Like, why are you trying to do that? Because those are the exact words that people would have said to you growing up. And you repeat them over and over, because that's what you believe, right? That's what we believe. We're like sponges when we're kids, and so we'll just take it on. And it's left you in a real, here's the Seven of Cups card, and this individual is staring at these cups. It's almost like a, I see that snake going up, and it reminds me like that snakes and ladders game where, you go forward 2 steps, get kicked back 3 steps. But this individual, he doesn't know there's a snake in there, and there's something about the snake you can't trust. And maybe you're in the same position where you're just not sure who to trust, what to do. And it really puts you in a state of confusion, right? Like, it's so much so that I can call this card a card of being dissociated, which means you're very much up in your head with these spinning thoughts, right? And it's keeping you out of your body. When we are up in our head, spinning around in our mind, we're not grounded into our body. And so I'm going to say that you are definitely in a place right now where you're not grounded, because you're not in your body and you're in your head, continuing to spin on these things. And I'm going to take probably 1 or 2 clarifiers for this, just to get a bit more information about what's going on here for you. But definitely, there it is. This is in reverse now with the Seven of Cups. And the fact that it's in reverse, because it comes here in an upright position first, but it was important that and I think it was probably maybe the last card in that deck, and it was almost like I could just feel it going, no, this is the card that needs to come out of the deck, and because I kind of pinched it when it was coming out. And the universe, the tarot wants you to know that this dissociation that you've got yourself in, this spinning, needs to really be looked at, because it's in reverse right here, which means it's almost like, I think you're in a state of denial that you're actually in this state of denial. If that makes any sense. Like, you really have to realize what kind of a state you are in because of all these things that you have believed all your life about yourself. And they're just not true. It's interesting because Gemini is a sign that is really, they need facts about anything, right? They have to get back to the truth. But they're a very busy sign as well. So maybe you are keeping quite busy with what you're doing right now. But they really do, because they want the facts, they like to shine a light on, what is deceiving here. And so you as a sign are normally the type that says, okay, let's get down to this. Let's get down to the facts. Tell me the facts. But I think you're in a position where, especially when it comes to ourselves, it's very, very hard to diagnose anything, right? But you are in a position where you're very much in your head, and your ego self has convinced you that you are like this. Whatever it is you continue to say in your head over and over, whether it's you can't do this, and why can't you do this, or why are you incapable of doing this, and you're not recognizing your inner strengths, actually. And so what needs healing here? Let's go to what needs healing around this. Where'd this all come from? What started all this? Well, you have the Nine of Cups, like I said. And it's like this person's in a prison right here. And what are the cups are about? Well, the cups are about our emotions. And so when you are younger, you were almost like you were kept in a prison where you were not allowed to feel your emotions. You were probably not in a safe place, because when we're younger and we not allowed to feel them, we don't feel them, we know we're not safe to. You might have taken out your anger and told to put that anger away, when that is an emotion that gives you power and change in your life. You were also told, maybe, stop your crying, put those tears away, whatever it was. You couldn't feel these big emotions, which makes a lot of sense that you're now as an adult in your head, because you've been taught when you were younger, don't you dare go near your body because there's emotions in there. And our ego self when we're younger is a real protective part. And it is the one that takes you out of your body and into your head. Because when you're younger, you can't handle big emotions like grief, like fear, like shame. They're too big. You're just not capable of handling them. And so it teaches you and it tells you, let's go up in your head because there's no emotions up here. But there's coming a time in your life right now where it's saying, okay, it's time now that we open up this Pandora's box and we start to feel some of these emotions. This jail that you were in when you were younger. Well, it's time now that we're gonna, take that key and let's have a couple clarifiers. Because it's, when you were younger, now give me some more about when you were younger, about this jail where you weren't allowed to feel your emotions. Yeah. You have this is a very high energy reading for you because now you have two major arcana cards coming up here, and there's two right over here, like I said. So when you were younger, the High Priestess is in reverse, and the Hierophant card came out here. So my English is kind of slipping. The High Priestess, first of all, is a card that it's a very powerful major arcana card. It's the second one in the major arcana part of the tarot, and it is the first half of the feminine archetype in the major arcana. And so the feminine archetype talks about, with the Empress, it talks about emotions and creativity. But then with the High Priestess, it talks about intuition. She's very, very intuitive, right? There's things that are hidden, and they're hidden behind that veil. And people think that they can't get past her. She has what people think as interpreted as the Torah, but I think it's a play on words where it's the tarot she has in her hand, right? She has the rule book in her hand, and it's like you need to know the rules to get in past this veil. But that's not what it is with your intuition. When you were younger, you didn't have access to your intuition. It's a beautiful feminine quality that is our inner guidance. It's our inner knowing, right? And I think right now, because you're so much in your head, you don't have that inner guidance or that inner knowing. It's this knowing from this divine knowing that comes through, and we all have it. It has nothing to do with gender. But when you were younger, that was shut off. When we're like 4, 5, 6 years old, we have intuition. But if we're not allowed to be in our body, if we're not allowed to feel our emotions and the ego takes us right up in our head, well, then that cuts off our intuition because we need to be in our body to access our intuition. And so anybody that tells you that they're intuitive, and if they're not in their body and grounded, there's no way that they're accessing their intuition. They're accessing their ego self. And so your intuition was cut off when you were younger because you didn't have access to it. And then the Hierophant comes here, and the Hierophant talks about, these individuals that are just sucking up, that just taking in that information coming from this papal figure, right? When you were younger, you were a sponge. You took all this information in. When you were told to put those emotions away, that's how you were wired. You were wired not to touch your emotions. Don't you dare take out your anger. You were wired not to do it. For some reason, it wasn't safe for you. And so there's probably a lot of fear on your part to actually touch your emotions as an adult, because that's what you learned when you were younger. And so there's a real need for you to get in touch with your inner strength, your inner knowing, your inner guidance, your intuition. But you got to be in your body first. You got to get grounded, and you got to feel some of these emotions that want to come out. And so what does the tarot suggest for, starting to reconnect with your true self and who you are? And so you have the Chariot card and then the Death card that comes right behind it. Like I said, two incredibly powerful cards, energies for you. Well, the Chariot card talks about, this is a card that talks about movement. I just heard some noise. Maybe it was a cat. Something scared me here. It's a card that talks about movement, but it's not physical movement. The Chariot card talks about movement of inner strength, of going inwards, right? And so this card, you have this charioteer over here who's been trying to control these two horses right here for a long time. And he's actually standing up in his chariot that's not moving anymore. And he's like screaming. It's like, come on, why won't you move? And so this really talks about how you have been trying to control things all your life with this up here, with your ego self, you know. Come on, why can't I do this? Why can't I get the strength? Why don't I know how to do this? And what's blocking me? And that's because this is your ego self that's continuing to say to you, you know, you can't do this. You don't, oftentimes your ego self will repeat these things. You can't do this. You're not strong enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're not smart enough. All these things you're repeating in your head. And you've been using your willpower alone to try to control this entire situation. When this card says, okay, it's time to go in now. It's time to get some real guidance from your intuition that's in your body. And then the death card comes in. And the death card talks about, you know, death. And so, like, what is it that has to die? What is it in you that has to die? What has to leave? And I actually think, and this is really the first time that I've actually said this in any reading, not kidding you. Death card for me usually says there are certain people in your life you have to let go of. There's certain things you have to get let go of. But this is saying your ego self. It's time that the ego self, and I want to say dies, but your ego self doesn't die. It's not a part that leaves us. It's a part that we now have to recognize that that's not your true self. So this ego self that you've been thinking all along is your mind that's been directing the chariot here has to go. And it's like your true self now has to come out here. In order to reach your true self, you got to get back into your body, right? This is what this is all saying. It's quite a deep reading for you here, and I hope you're following along with it. But this ego self, like I said, it's not like it's going to die. But the whole ego self, like I'm going to repeat it one more time, you're thinking that was you all along has to die. Because that's not you. Your true self is not your ego self. But now it's time to go inwards so that you can finally get in touch with, all right, who is this true self? All along I've been thinking that this ego self in my head was me, trying to push its way through, trying to control everything and everyone around me. That's not you. So let's get a clarifier, maybe just one more card here, because it was quite, let's see what others, what else it wants here. One more card. Well, it wants two. So you have the Queen of Swords and then the Nine of Cups. Interesting that it's brought up the Nine of Cups right here that was sitting in your shadow, and it's in reverse. And so what does it want you to do? Well, here's the Queen of Swords with the, I mean, I did say I've been really referring to that, but the Queen of Swords is that the feminine part of us. And she's got that authentic sword in her hand. And like I said, she knows who she is. She lives in her body. She lives by her emotions. She's grounded. So I'm wondering if she's in reverse here. So I'm wondering if you have some anger that you need to get out. I'm going to say there is some anger, because when the Queen of Swords is in reverse, when she's not allowed to be her authentic self, you can see how you can have some anger there. And oftentimes we have this ungrounded anger that's sitting in us, and maybe you're one of those people that gets angry at people, and it comes out at the wrong time, in the wrong places. And I'm going to say maybe you have some ungrounded anger, or maybe some depression. But there's some anger, I think, that the universe says, okay, it's time for you to get angry at these people that told you all your life that you were like this, and this wasn't you. They made you believe all this stuff about yourself. Well, I'd be freaking angry too. And so it's time here to get angry. And here's your cups. Here's your Nine of Cups. And here he is. He's sitting here. This is another portrayal of him now, where he's sitting here in front of his cups. And he's crossed his arms, and it's like, I don't want to touch these emotions anymore. But what the universe wants you to do now is lift this blue blanket, because this is just the 9. The cycle's not over yet. Got one more cup to go here. And the universe wants you to turn that cup around, or turn that card around and look at that, what's under that blanket, right? And I think getting in touch with your anger is going to get you somewhere at your power. Now, I'm going to leave you with a playlist on anger, which is probably my favorite playlist, but it's also the hardest emotion that I personally have a hard time getting to. But I've had to get in touch with my ungrounded anger because I was not allowed to get angry when I was younger. And so I do that through my journaling, where I just get pissed off. And all the curse words are going to come out, and you're going to get angry at every single person in your life, or every person that pisses you off. And that's how you're going to get your anger out, and that's going to give you your strength, that inner strength that you need, right? Horn cactus to do what you're supposed to be doing next. And so I want you to have compassion for yourself, Gemini. It's been an amazing reading for you. This is a very difficult journey, the healing journey, but remember that it's a process, and it's the most important journey of your life. So I want you to stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.